Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. We have a fantastic guest with us once again today. We're going to be talking about mastering the fundamentals in terms of prospecting and lead generation and all kinds of stuff. We're going to get into his business. And before we get to that, while we wait for people to join us live here, I just want to speak to the people that are watching the replay. Make sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. And then if you prefer the audio version nestled right here in your ears, you can head on over to iTunes and Stitcher and subscribe there, depending on whether you're on an iPhone and Android. And I'm joined in the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel. Greg, what is up today? How you doing?
Matt, what's up, buddy? It is such a blessed day. Every day I get to sit and talk with you is just one check mark in the winning column, in my opinion. And then we have.
I wish everybody in the world felt like that. It would make my job so much easier.
Well, Danny, we have Danny today, man. He's just gonna kick ass, take names, wash, repeat, and do it again. But I gotta tell you, you know what? It is. I don't know if you guys if you're doing the Facebook Lives yet and doing those. If you're not and you're just hearing my voice for the first time, you're welcome. I don't know what are your other two wishes, but you know what? Go ahead and friend me on Facebook, guys. Seriously, everybody that's hearing my voice, replays or live, friend me on Facebook. You get some original, additional content that I do almost every day. Yes, Josh Bryan, I know you're on top of me. I didn't do it live yesterday, but I'm 99.9999% of the time I will. It's going to be different content. It's going to be relevant content. So please friend me, and you guys can get your goodness fix there.
That's right. And as you pointed out, Greg, you're not just talking about content that's for real estate agents. You're also talking about real estate content that's for the general public.
Right.
So if any real estate agent is looking for, they want to do their own Facebook Lives, but they're not sure what to talk about, if they follow you, they will see some of the things that you talk about that speaks to the general public, like things to do this weekend in Danville, for example, is a good one.
Right, I do. Every Friday's getting an episode about fun and cheap things to do in the San Francisco Bay Area, guys, and that's just what Fridays is. We cover over topics and tactics to go out there and build your business. You know, how to get your home ready for a selling season. A myriad of content, guys. Friend me. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna love to see you. It's a win-win solution.
That's right. All right. Well, let's bring on our special guest, Danny Batsalkin. Danny, what's up today?
Hey, what's happening? Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on. So for everybody that doesn't know who you are, kind of give us the 60-second version of what your business looks like, where you're at, and what types of clients you work with.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks. So I was a former real estate attorney, and I started in real estate about 10 years ago as an independent broker. I had my own little brokerage, and about 4 years ago, we took that to Keller Williams. And so now I run my team out of Keller Williams in Beverly Hills, so a nice little area here in Southern California. And then I also have another team that I run up in Calabasas, which is a suburb of LA. You guys have probably heard of it because they always talk about it on the all the reality shows. I think the Kardashians and all the other people live there. So we have a team out there to service that clientele. And then I also am the broker owner of a Keller Williams office up in Santa Maria, California, which is about 2.5 hours north of us in beautiful wine country. So price points are all over the board. You know, my Santa Maria office, the average price point's about $400,000, and then in Beverly Hills and Calabasas, we work on everything from out here $800,000 starter homes to last year we sold a $14 million ranch. So everything in between we will work on in pretty much all of LA and greater Los Angeles area.
Wow.
Yeah, I think everybody outside the coast just fell off their chair when you said $800,000 starter home.
Right.
Speaking as someone from Omaha, Nebraska, where that buys you a McMansion with about 50 acres of land.
And a butler.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Like a full live-in staff.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. So how much are you still in the production side? Obviously, you've got teams going. You're coaching a lot of people. Are you still actively in production? And if so, like, who are you working with?
Yeah, you know what, guys? I actually kind of am. Interestingly enough, I've stepped out completely out of production a couple of times, and I've just felt a little bit disconnected from the business. So I actually do like going on listing appointments. For the most part, I don't work with buyers, but I actually will still work with some of our top clients, some of my friends and top referrals. I'll work with them both on the buy side and the listing side, so I'll still go on listing appointments. If they're ones that I really want to go on. We do have some on our team. We also have some listing agents on our team. But I do like being connected to every part of the business. I'll jump into the ISA room. We'll make calls with those guys. I'll I'll work with my admin. So I do like to stay in touch with every department for sure.
Well, that's the difference between a leader and a boss. Danny, you're out there and you're a true leader. You're out there, doing things that you're asking the other people to do. A boss sits back in his ivory tower and goes, "Minions, do shit that makes me money," and you're just like, hey, man, I'll get out there and I'll hustle, man. I'll do the calls, I'll go in the CMAs, and it does. I stepped out of production for a little while, and you're totally right. When you don't do it on a daily basis, you literally feel that there's a massive disconnect, and it's very commendable that you're in the trenches, man. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it's fun. Like I wouldn't now. To be honest, I wouldn't want to be doing it all the time. I think it would take away from my stuff. But to get in there and have fun and do it when you want to is a really good feeling.
Yeah. Most agents wish they could feel that way.
Yeah, the option. Exactly. Yeah, I was talking to Jeff Cohn and I were talking about this on our last hangout that we did together. So he's actually started going on listing presentations, like literally just the presentation. He will show up with an agent in tow, just does the presentation. He doesn't even wait to do the paperwork with him. He literally gets up, shakes their hand, leaves, and let the agent fill out the rest of the paperwork. So for about and his average take on that, because the split is so high because they're his own personal referrals, I think he's taking like a 70-30 split with the guy that actually ends up listing it and doing all the work of managing the listing. So it's like $5 to $7 grand an hour or something like that he's making. It's literally his highest dollar activity.
He's like a surgeon.
That's right.
He walks in
exactly.
Nurse, glove me.
Yeah, but it's funny because you get into other people approach real estate in different ways, and there's so many different ways to break down the value chain that most agents don't even think of it in those terms. They think of it in terms of, I'm going to go into production, therefore I need to work with clients, therefore I need to go on the entire list pres, I need to go keep them updated every week. We figured out how to outsource different pieces, and he just took the listing presentation and broke it down into 3 pieces and figured out, okay, here's the piece that's actually important for me to do. It's funny.
Yeah, Jeff's a very smart guy, so that's a great concept. I love that.
Yeah. So there's always ways to extract more value and limit yourself to the highest dollar activities. So, but let's take a question real quick. There was one that caught my eye that's actually perfect for you and Greg because it's about $1 million listing appointment and kind of how to talk to the sellers in that situation. So we'll kind of get the juices flowing. So this caught my eye. It's on the Lead Gen Scripts and Objections Facebook group that me and Greg are both a member of. So Karen Freed asked, I went out on $1 million plus listing appointment, and the sellers balked at the commission, essentially saying it's too much for the additional services I provide as a luxury agent. So other than stressing the market conditions and the chance at selling at this price point, what other scripts do you combat at this objection? She's in Raleigh, North Carolina. $1 million that's probably a $5 million house out here.
Yeah,
so we're talking about a serious luxury home. So Greg, to you first, how would you deal with that objection that she's not bringing enough value to justify her commission?
Well, that's the first part of me. She's going to go out on a listing appointment of that magnitude, and she knows what she's going up to. She should have done research on the owners, figure out what they ever done, looked them up on LinkedIn, could stalk them a little bit, understand their personality styles, you know how to cater to them so they start liking you right off the bat. Number 2, she should have built out and built up every minute thing that she could have done. Because if she just says, we're going to go put the home on the web, we're going to have tour, we're going to have a photographer come in, and then we'll put the sign in the yard. What the shit does that mean? You've got to be able to break it down nitty gritty. We always talk about the value add rocket ship, so you need to understand what that level of people, ultra wealthy people in the area, what are they expecting? What was their last real estate experience like? Get into their head, have you or the assistant make those phone calls and have a list of questions so that when you show up there, that the last time that they had a real estate transaction, it was everything, sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and little puppies. It was perfect. But they expect that level from you, so understand what was given to them in the beginning, so you can already have a pre-done listing presentation. Because when you show up for a listing presentation, it cannot be a canned script. Scripts are for movies and TV shows. Let's be real, okay? This needs to be customized for that human being. Because if they're at that level of luxury, they are not driving a Honda Accord. They probably got the S550 and the G5 Jet. I'm making that up, but you know what I mean. They're going to be used to things customized for them. So just do that. That would be my suggestion.
All right. Same question to you, Danny.
Sure, Greg, I couldn't agree more with everything that you said. The first tip I want to give is something that I came across. Someone recommended it to me just a little bit ago, which it's an app called Charlie. Have you guys heard of this thing?
No, but I'm excited to learn.
It's pretty cool. If you just Google Charlie app, if you install it, what it does is it actually connects to your Google Calendar, and it sends you an email every morning. It pulls out all of the names. Now, this presupposes that you use your Google Calendar properly and put appointments in with people's names.
That is a step too far for a lot of agents, so yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
What it does is it sends you an email every morning, and it does some research on everyone that you have a meeting with that day, and it tells you what your common interests are, what your common likes are, and it actually pulls some key points from that person's, all of the social profiles that it can find and everything it can find on the web on these people. And it's extremely useful. Actually, I have an interesting story on that. So the first day that I installed this app, I got the email the next day in the morning, and my assistant had no idea what it was. She's like, "I think you got some spam from Charlie." And she's like, "I don't know a Charlie." I had a listing appointment that day that was set up by one of my inside salespeople. And it told me, it said, "Hey, here are the two people you're meeting with, and by the way, they are both attorneys at big firms. Here's what you guys have in common. You guys both like the Lakers. The lady likes cooking, this and that." So it gives you all that research before you go on that appointment, so you have it, so you can know, kind of like Greg was talking about, some talking points when you go in to build rapport. So that's kind of a side note or a preface to this. Now let's talk commission. So I love the commission objection, man. When I get the commission objection, I actually get super excited, because what the commission objection really is that you want to narrow that down to having them understand, what are they really interested in? Are they interested in the fee that they're going to be paying, or are they interested in their net proceeds? And what the conversation needs to be around is that it's not really the commission you're interested in. Like, look, if I could sell your house for $400,000 more, would you pay me $200,000 to do it?
Yes.
Probably. So it's not a commission objection. It's a value objection. They're not understanding the value. They haven't seen the value, and you haven't shown them that by paying you your commission, they're actually going to net more money. So let me give you an example on this. One of my coaching clients, I haven't gotten permission, so I won't say his name, but one of my coaching clients, we were working on commission. And I asked him to pull his statistics. I said, "Here's what I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me, in your market area, when you sell a home, do you sell it for more than the competition? Do you sell it more than the market average?" And he went and he looked and he did some stats, and he figured out that on average in his farm area, he sells a home for $100 more per square foot than the market average.
Wow.
And the average, right, which is a lot. And the average home there, let's just say, is like 2,000 square feet. So that would mean that he's selling homes on average for $200,000 more than everyone else. So then when it came to commission, I said, "Okay, look, here's what I want you to ask you on your next appointment. I want you to say, you interviewed the other agent, they're charging 5%, I'm charging 6%, let's just call it $1 million home. What's that difference?" And have the client answer for you. And they'll say, "Okay, it's $10,000. And now I want you to show them I'm selling homes for $200,000 more, or $100 more per square foot. So which would you rather have? Would you rather, in theory, save 1%, or would you rather sell your home for $100 more per square foot?" And in this situation, the client actually said, "Yeah, I see what you mean. I'd rather have more money per square foot. Let's move forward." And the guy got the listing that day because of that dialogue. So I think it's first of all delivering a ton of value. It's knowing your statistics and knowing why you deserve more money. So this isn't just about a script of an objection handler, why you should pay me more. It's really about, why do I deserve more? And you have to know that. So you have to know your unique selling proposition. You have to know why you should get paid more. And then you have to be committed to getting that commission on your transactions, to explaining to the sellers why you deserve more money.
That was a brilliant script. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
No, thanks, I just made it up. Yes.
That's right.
No, it really was. It's a phenomenal way of looking at it, because what you did is you showed them with numbers that you can get them, here's my history. It's not like, hey, I deserve it because I'm awesome. No, you don't. you're not that awesome. But once you showed me, how much more money I was going to make, shit, man, I was about ready to list with you.
Yeah, there you go. Because at the end of
from
the
a marketing
day,
perspective, I mean, Danny, I think the key there is you're actually having him relate back to numbers. Those are irrefutable. There's something that I mean, obviously you accept it as it's more of an accepted fact, right? If you can prove or if you can make a statement like that, as opposed to saying, well, I get homes sold faster and for more money. That is not a statement that the average seller can agree with. You can agree with that statement, but unless you have the numbers to back it up, there's no incentive for them to agree with you, so there's no trust built.
Yeah, and just to take it one step further, guys, in our listing presentation, and I recommend this for every agent, I recommend that you have those value pieces built into your listing presentation. So first and foremost, you should have the statistics about, what do you do that sets you apart? What is your unique value proposition specifically? Like you just said, okay, on average, the days on market in the area is 60 minus 30. I sell homes for twice as fast because of these 5 things that I do. On average, in the market, the market sells homes for this price per square foot. Mine is this much better because of these things I do. Because at the end of the day, I've realized that the consumers, the public, they don't care about what we do. What they care about is the benefit to them and the results that they're going to get. So I focus my entire presentation on that part of it. And then when it comes time to the fee, if they feel that you deserve that fee because of what you do, they have no problem paying it.
No, very true. And they don't have a problem. Like you said, it all comes down to numbers, and the points that you've brought in this short little dialogue that we've had right in the very beginning of this thing. I think everybody watching the show should take that to heart. Go rewind this, guys. Seriously, go rewind this if you're not watching us live, and go get those scripts and dialogues and really understand what he's saying. It's going to put money in your pocket without a doubt. I guarantee that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can tell, Danny, from the way that you talk that you've had a lot of experience in front of sellers because the way that you speak is very content dense. There's not a lot of wasted words. There's not a lot of distraction. You're very much to the point, and you're able to communicate exactly what you want to communicate in very short, apparently, basically short bursts. Not that it's short. Not short sentences necessarily, but there's a way of speaking, and if you do a lot of writing or copywriting, or I noticed this first with Frank from Viral Marketing. Just when certain people like that, or Jay Abraham or Dan Kennedy, when they speak, there's so much practice and so much thought that goes into what they're saying that they're able to get their thoughts out in a compressed time frame. So you can actually say more in a listing presentation, deliver more value. The more you work behind the scenes to really know what your value is, you're able to convey it, and you can talk about more valuable things that you do in that short amount of time that you have with them. Yep. All right. So let's talk about let's give a couple of shout outs. What do you say, Greg? I want to mention a couple things, places where people can learn more about Danny, and then we'll get into his business and kind of the story behind what he's built. So first of all, I just want to point out, so if you go to tbghomes.com, which stands for the Batsalkin Group, you can learn more about their team and where they're at and the different locations that they have. And then they also have a blog that's run by Viral Marketing. It's the same company that runs Greg's blog up there in the Bay Area. So if you go to blog.tbghomes.com, and we just want to thank them real quick for helping to make podcasts and hangouts like these happen. So you can learn more about them at getviral.com. And then I mentioned Jeff Cohn earlier. If you want to learn more about how to build a dominant real estate team, he does a workshop there up in Omaha. So if you go to eliterealestatesystems.com/workshops, you can learn more about that. He's got a big one coming up at I believe it's the end of April that coincides. It's the week before the big Berkshire Hathaway stockbrokers meeting in Omaha where Warren Buffett's speaking. So if anybody's interested in going to that, check out the workshops page. And you can get in touch with either me or Jeff Cohn on Facebook to learn more about actually attending that specific date. So, Greg, who do you have to shout out?
Well, first off, to Danny, as soon as you talked about Charlie app, when I was looking down, is because I was downloading the Charlie app on it. And I want to congratulate you, by the way, for being in the news recently, because I believe you were an article you contributed to. But yeah, that thing is freaking the best stock thing.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool.
Oh my God!
I was trying to figure out what you were talking about at first, and then I remembered.
You were like, "Is he losing his marbles?" Okay, so shout outs, you guys. Annette, I had an opportunity to talk with you. You're amazing. She's in Colorado. We had a kick-ass conversation. Then she sent me a photo with her and Mr. Chuckles or Mr. Red or Mr. something. It's the rooster that wakes her up in the morning. Sandy and Larry in Hawaii, what's up, you guys? So glad you reached out to me. We did an emergency MCC last night. I did my first video chat on McDaniel's Challenge, and all I did when they were in Hawaii, we kept losing filters, but we came up with a really cool plan how to just decimate the other Hawaiian agents out there by using technology and being super savvy on it. So you guys are gonna fucking murder it. I love it. Keep me up to date. Oh, by the way, I am gonna take you up on the offer to come out and visit you. Just beware. Hey Rod Watson, congrats on your new reality television show. It's called The Neighborhood SD. It airs on the CW on Sundays at 12 noon. He's going to walk you through downtown San Diego. It's awesome. So congrats, brother. I got asked to speak at another event here with the YPN. So Mark Guzman, thanks for reaching out to me. Bobby, I know you're listening. I know you're listening to my voice right now, nestled deep in your earbuds. She's my friend from the gym. I just want to give her a big shout out. Big Bob, hey, good hanging with you today. And then I want to thank also Rod, Miss Callejas, Marasa, and Dean Tracy for all coming to my rescue and defense when I was verbally accosted on one of my live posts. So you guys, I love you guys. Thank you for having my back. You're amazing, beautiful, wonderful, incredible human beings. And I'm done.
Wow, that was actually short.
I
nice
know.
Job. All right.
Cut it down.
All right, so Danny, let's get into your backstory a little bit. So obviously you've got your team now, you've got a couple of expansion offices, but kind of take us back and what types of clients did you initially start working with, and what area were you working in, and let's dig into maybe some of the key skills that you built the first couple years you were in the business.
Yeah, sure. Great question. So as I mentioned, I was a real estate attorney for 3 years, and I left that to start real estate kind of in the end of the hot market, like 06, 07. And my first client actually was someone at my law firm who said, well, my first client was myself. I got my real estate license to buy my own house. Nice. And and the reason I got my license, you guys might like this story, I was working on a big real estate deal as an attorney. It was like a $17 million purchase. We were doing all the documentation. The partner said to me, came in my office, I remember, and he said, hey, Danny, I need you to do all the documentation on this real estate deal. I'm going to give you access to the California Association of Realtors forums, the WIN forums, which you guys are familiar with. And he said, this is the easiest thing ever. It's all fill in the blank. It's made for dummies.
That's awesome.
For everyone listening, that's what the attorneys are saying. So anyway, I did this deal. I did all the work on it. It was for a friend of his, a client of his. The agent was a new agent, and it was her first deal, so she barely did anything. And I remember at the end of the deal, we got our legal fees paid, and it was like $5,000 or $6,000 because we were billing by the hour. It wasn't a lot of time, and she got a check, for 2.5% of $17 million. You guys can all do the math. Whoa. And so that day I said, hey, I'm signing up for my real estate broker's license because I'm on the wrong side of this thing.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's hilarious.
I can't believe they really paid out the full 5% on a $17 million deal. They didn't knock it down to like 0.5% on each side or something? That's incredible.
I don't know what they were paying the listing side because we didn't get that information. But yeah, on the buy side, typically in our area, regardless of the price, you're going to see, I do see some high, like $30, $40 million properties. Occasionally I'll see a 2% paying to the buyer's agent. But yeah, it's typically 2.5%. So that's a good gig if you can get it.
I'm coming down to your neck of the woods, man. Screw this $1 million bullshit.
Like the housing prices are going up and the commissions are going down. That's the wrong way it's supposed to go.
Dude, $1 million house is bullshit now. I'm going over to his place, man. $30 million, I'll take a 2% on that. Yeah. All day long.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So anyway, when I first got out of law, initially my clients were attorneys. They were attorneys from our firms. My wife was also a lawyer. So we started working with all of the attorneys from all of the law firms in LA. We still do that. We still specialize in going in and working with new attorneys that want to buy their first house, or partners that may want to buy something bigger. So that's a big part of our clientele. And a lot of professionals, CPAs, business managers, people like that we work with a lot of here in LA. And then as far as skills go, guys, I got to tell you, that is something that since day one, I've always been committed to really being learning-based, learning additional skills, and self-development. So I signed up for real estate coaching before I had even left my law firm. I signed up for coaching. I've always been in real estate coaching. I've always had a coach. You know, I played football at the University of Arizona, and so it was like, hey, in sports you have coaches. I need to have a coach in real estate. So I've always had a coach. I've always gone to. I go to almost every kind of event that I can go to learn and develop skills, because I feel like, you know, it's a skills-based business. It's so important, and that's an area that, you know, I feel like agents really need to do more of. You know, learn more, develop your skills, and so it's and you guys do a great job of kind of sending that out to the public. So thank you for doing all that.
Hey, our pleasure, Danny. And you couldn't have hit it more on the head if you had aimed at it and tried. You know, a lot of the big problem in our industry, as you well know, and I'm going to preach to it again, is the fact that agents, once they get their license, they think that that's it. I don't care. I'm an agent. That's all I need to do. But you need to be working in your business, which is a daily grind, then on your business on a daily amount. Read something, listen to something, watch something on YouTube. Maybe just, you know, binge watch this podcast, which is okay by us. Or go out, pick up that thing called a book. Yeah, they actually have those still. Go get one and start reading it. You're going to get smarter from it. And then Danny, when his team's working with you in LA, they're not going to have to do both sides of the transaction. You're actually going to pull your own weight. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Matt's an avid reader. I'm an avid reader, aka audible.com, which Matt ridicules me for. But to pick up a book, pick up a podcast, pick up an article, pick up something that's going to make you better today than you were yesterday, and you do it on a daily basis for, I'll say, 20 minutes, you'll become so much smarter. So much smarter. So,
Danny, you're a good example of somebody that you probably had the like all the knowledge of all the back end work. I mean, you're coming from as a real estate attorney. I mean, your knowledge set is so far beyond what most agents come into the business. I think a lot of agents come in and think that they have to really focus on the paperwork, and they want to make sure that they literally have all their ducks in a row and there's no question they could possibly be asked that they don't know the answer to, and all this stuff, and then they never focus on getting any business. Where you basically came in with all that knowledge, and then now what do you do?
Yeah, that is such a great point, because, you know, about 3 months into real estate, so keep in mind, like, I had never had a sales position, and so I thought, oh, this is going to be great. You know, I'm a lawyer and I have an MBA and everyone's going to want to work with me. So 3 months into this thing, into real estate, when the kind of people calling me ran out, I realized, uh-oh, I actually need clients. What do I do now? And so I realized I was in sales, you know, and this is a sales business, and I think that's the biggest misconception that people have, is that they don't realize that you are a salesperson first, you're a real estate agent second. And so when I realized that, just like you guys were just talking about, I dove into sales hardcore, you know, because I had never done sales. So I bought every sales book imaginable. I ordered, you know, Zig Ziglar's books. I ordered, you know, everything I can find on sales, not necessarily real estate sales, but any kind of sales. Mm-hmm. You know, I went to seminars on sales. Mm-hmm. I did all these kinds of things to learn how do you sell? How do you sell properly? How do you sell well? And so, yeah, again, I couldn't agree more that you have to focus on those sales skills, because I know a lot of agents who have the contract memorized, but they're broke because they don't have any business.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Yeah, well, it's a lot easier to focus on that part of the business, you know. At least unless you have like the personality type that naturally gravitates to sales for whatever reason, or you come from another industry where you understand that already. Yeah, I think a lot of people spend a lot of time focusing on that end of it because it's easier to master than it is to master sales.
Sure.
Yeah. So when you first started working with high-end buyers and just the buyers that were kind of in your social circle, what are some of the skills that you built up? I mean, did you work a lot on scripting? Was there any particular challenges that you had to overcome to work with that type of clientele?
You know, I have to tell you, I mean, I don't really see a big difference. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but I don't see a difference, and I don't treat them any differently if I'm working with a $3 million buyer or if we're working with an $800,000, even a $400,000 buyer. I don't see any difference. You know, I think the skills are the same. It's all about asking great questions, finding out what that client's motivation is, you know, asking more questions than you're telling. You know, selling is not telling. It's really asking great questions. And if I can I always try to get that across to my team, because a lot of times they're talking and they're telling people what they think, and that doesn't matter. It's all about asking great questions, finding out motivation, because motivation to me is the most important thing. You know, that's the problem. You know, if you're if we're a doctor of real estate, we need to find out what's the problem that we're trying to solve, and that's all about motivation. So to me, it's just about having great listening skills. And by the way, mentioning scripts, I think it's important to understand the basic things you need to know in your script, and then you have to be able to listen. And the only way to do that is you have to have all your scripts memorized and internalized, so you can really listen to what your clients are saying. And then just providing great customer service on kind of a concierge level, which is what we're really into on our team. Going above and beyond, exceeding their expectations, whether it's a $400,000 client or a $14 million client. I don't think that part matters. And by the way, a lot of times I've gotten more referrals from a $400,000 client that have ended up being higher end than some of the other ones. So I don't discount any price point. I always tell my clients I don't discriminate on price point. We don't discriminate on area. If there's a house to sell, we will do it.
Do you remember Howard Britton at all?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we were stars with Howard's organization, Star Power, when he was still alive. And he always would tell us to go 3 deep, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Find the root reason. Here's the question. 3 more questions to understand what's really going on. And if you got to go another 2 to get 5 deep, whatever it is. That's one of the most powerful things, because once you understand their want, need, or desire to do something, then their true attitude, their true personality and everything else is going to come out. Because if they say, I want to buy a house because I just want a bigger house, and then all of a sudden, the wife is pressuring him, he's freaking out, he's got a coronary, then you can speak to that and guide them the right direction. But that is giving good customer service. And the definition, I'll ask you this, guys. Do you know what the definition is of good customer service here in America? It is 1 level above crap, and that's sad. And when I heard that, my buddy Casey, he's my lender I've used forever, but he loves collecting guns and everything else, so he always goes to Cabela's to buy bullets because they're cheaper. Dude, I called them up to buy a couple of 9mm rounds. Every other major corporation out there, you get it, it's an automated system. Every time I call Cabela's, a human being picks up, and they're polite and courteous. And that's the definition. That's why I'll always go back to them. And that's what you guys should be. You should be Cabela's for real estate, just like Danny's doing right now. He's Cabela's for real estate. He's just bringing the service and making it rain, and we could all learn a lot from him.
Yeah, well, let's go a little bit deeper on that. So, and we can get into a little bit more about maybe what your team looks like, but. Well, when you say concierge level service and really providing an experience to your clients that gets them so excited about you that they actually want to refer you to other people, I mean, that's a big difference from just an average level of service and just kind of doing your own thing and feeling like you're providing good customer service. So what are some of the things that you install in your team to make sure that as a team you're providing that concierge level of service?
Yeah, that's a great question, a great point. So, early on I realized that, well, the first thing I realized in real estate is that I didn't understand why real estate agents had this need to do everything themselves. It never made sense to me. Like I met all these agents who are like, oh no, I still meet agents who are like, oh, I go on all my own inspections and, I do all this. And I always would say, like, why? Like, you're not the best are you the best person to do that? It doesn't make any sense. So I understood early on that I have a certain skill set that I'm good at, and everything else I'm pretty bad at. So I'm actually terrible at follow-up. I'm terrible at customer service. I don't get back to people. I don't respond to emails. I knew I was bad at all that stuff.
Sound like a typical agent.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know I'm terrible at all that stuff. So what I knew I needed to do is I needed to create a system that would work to make that happen, and I needed to find the right people that would execute on that, because I'm not going to be the one that that executes on that. Have you guys read the book Rocket Fuel? It's a I think Jeff Cohn might have recommended this one to me.
Really?
It's a book called Rocket Fuel, and it says that in every organization there's kind of the visionary, and then there's the person that executes. And rarely do you have a good visionary that's also a good person that's going to be executing on all these minor things. So that's kind of the backstory on it. And so, I'm very systems based, and I always wanted to create systems around this. So we're very checklist driven on our team. I have an amazing director of administration. Her name is Courtney. She might be listening, but she's the one that helped us set all this up. And so Courtney really manages all of our systems. We do everything through a program called Basecamp, which is kind of a process driven collaboration software. and all of our checklists are on there. And so it's very easy to follow. Our administration team follows all of the checklists that they need to make sure that that customer service is delivered. Because to me, it was like, if it's not being delivered, it's a systems problem. You know, I'm not going to do it. I need to find someone that can do it, that can really follow the checklist. And then we just evolve the checklist. You know, a system is really, at the end of the day, it's just a good checklist. So now when you look, it's like we have all these 5-star Yelp reviews, and it's all because our admin people follow the checklist that's there, and we know that those things work. So, you know, that's a kind of a longer answer, but at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
No, you just found his brother.
Yeah, what's that? No kidding. I love systems. So are you, like, for example, are you communicating with sellers on like a strict schedule or a weekly basis? You know, like, what's your communication plan with your clients like?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I'll actually give you kind of the life of our listing in a nutshell, which I think is pretty cool. There was a period of time, I want to say it was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, where I noticed that we had like unhappy clients. You know, like sellers were complaining, and I was like, what's going on? So I sat down with Courtney. It's right around the time she first started, and we said, hey, let's build a system where we're going to make our sellers super happy. Because I knew we were doing everything that we needed to do, but there was something missing. So we went to Basecamp, which we really like, but there's other systems. Top Producer does it, Brivity does it, like there's a bunch of systems. So we went to Basecamp, and the cool thing about Basecamp is it's transparent. So you can add your seller as a client, and they see all the checklists. So the first thing is, by virtue of the client seeing what you're doing, it makes it transparent, and it makes you a better team, because you have to have your A game if they're going to see it. So that's first and foremost. The other thing that Brivity does that's cool is that every time you complete a task, you can set it up so they get an email. So now your clients are getting emails when you do stuff. Hey, signs up, advertising's out, properties on the MLS, here are your photos, check them out. So for us, the life of a listing looks like this. You know, our listing agent goes out, signs a listing agreement, turns it into Courtney. Courtney's the quarterback of that listing from that point forward. She calls the seller. She schedules everything. They know to call her because the listing agent's out on appointments. That person's not going to get back to you. You got to call Courtney. So Courtney takes control of that, and everything goes through her. So from then on out, it's constant communication. You know, they're getting the emails of what's happening on their transaction. They're getting, at minimum, a weekly phone call about what's going on. All of the showings, all the open houses, everything is logged into the system so that the client can log in any time and see what's happening. Some clients log in all the time. We have other clients that never log in, but nonetheless, it's there. So you're getting that weekly update from Courtney. You're seeing exactly what's happening. So from the client perspective, it's a very seamless, very cool process. And then all of a sudden, our reviews went way up. Our clients were happy. Everything was great. And it's funny because we were probably doing the same thing we were doing before, but now it's systematized, and the client can see it, and so they're happier. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. It's one of those things where, what is it? Somebody said value that is not perceived is not valued. It's not understood. You know, so you can deliver value all you want, but if it's not visible and they're not perceiving that, then they're not going to recognize it.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was awesome.
100%.
I'm going to take a look at Basecamp. I mean, I think more agents need to use systems like that because our number one biggest complaint is what? Communication, right? And yes, you can outsource that and get it done. That's beautiful.
So let's talk about your listing agents and the role of that and how you exited that part of the business. So as you're building out your team and tell me kind of a little bit about, let's maybe go a little bit further than that and just tell me how you built the buyer side of your business and where some of those buyer leads were coming from when you first kind of came into the business and realized that you'd run out of people to talk to. And let's go from there into kind of how you grew your business.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, when I first started, I was doing everything just like everyone else. You know, on the transaction side, on the selling side, I wasn't doing the admin. I hired an assistant from probably about 2 or 3 months in. We hired an assistant. It was a big expense. But you know, at my law firm, I had an assistant. So when I got into real estate, I thought, hey, I need to have someone to do all this crap that I don't want to do. And so hired an assistant right away. And I told the assistant, we kind of made a list. It was interesting. We made a list of everything that a real estate agent has to do on a day-to-day basis. And it was long, you know, it was however many things, 80 things. And I said, okay, I'm going to do these 4 things, and you're going to do everything else, and I need you to figure out how to do that. We had no systems. We didn't know how, but I just said, this is what it's going to be like. You know, the things that I want to do are, or not that I want to do, but that I know I need to do to build this business are, number 1, lead generation, of course. Number 2, go on listing appointments. Number 3, work with now buyers that want to buy right now. And number 4, negotiate contracts. Those are the 4 things that I want to do. And practice my skills, obviously, is number 5. You do everything else. And so she had to figure out, you know, how to make all that happen. So that was kind of step 1. And then she actually outsourced the transaction coordination. So we had an outsourced TC from the very beginning, which was great because that freed up her time. So then, if you fast forward a little bit, what happened was, I'd say probably about 6 months later, I realized that you know, the buyers are kind of sucking up a lot of my time. So you mentioned the buyer division. So the buyers are sucking up a lot of my time, and you know, I have to do open houses, which takes me away from golf and being with my family on Sundays, which I don't like. So I went out and I found like a junior agent, and I said, hey, here's the deal. I'm going to give you all of my buyer leads because I don't really want to work them, other than I have friends that, you know, I may want to work with, but I'm going to give you all of them. You can do all the open houses on my listings, and you can have all of those leads too. And they said, sure. So that was my first buyer's agent. And then that kind of grew from there into more buyer's agents coming on, doing those kinds of things. I will tell you, it wasn't really until, and I know this isn't a plug for KW, but until we came to KW and kind of started networking with other teams that are doing it right, did I learn kind of how to do that right. And part of that was hiring the right people with the right personality styles to be a good buyer's agent. So when we came to KW, the team really exploded, you know, because we found the right people to do it. So that was kind of the start of the buyer division. And then the next thing we did after that was start hiring inside salespeople. I hired my first inside salesperson probably about 2.5 years ago or so, and that was a total game changer because at that point I was like, hey, I know I need to call these thousands of people in my database, but I don't want to do it. And so we found a good person to call everyone, and that was huge because now I have people calling through the database, calling every single lead when I'm not in the office, or like I'm here on the Hangout, I have people calling the database, which is great.
And just real quick, what's their value prop to, not to like just a typical buyer lead, but if it's someone in your database?
Oh, sure. Those are usually customer service calls. So that, you know, that call may go something like this. You know, hey, this is Danny from TBG Homes. I'm just giving you a quick customer service call. I see that, you know, 3 months ago you registered on our website and you were looking at this home over on Rodeo Drive. Are you still in the market? So it's really just a customer service call for everyone in our database, or they could see the notes, you know. So maybe it's someone in our database, maybe it's a past client, you know. So they may say something like, "Hey, it's just a customer service call. You know, I wanted to give you a call. This is Danny. I'm with TBG Homes. You know, how's everything going? What are your real estate plans for the year? Is there anything we can help you with? You know, how's the family?" We kind of use the Ford script, which is family, occupation, recreation, dreams, for our ISAs. And that's it, man. They're really just trying to cultivate a relationship with those people, and then they ask for referrals. You know, so is there anyone you know that we can help? You know, we're helping a lot of families buy and sell homes. It's a great market. As far as value proposition, you know, we demand that they are on top of what's going on in the market. You know, so here's what's going on in LA right now. Prices are up 6% year over year. Were you aware of that? You know, if you have a home, would you like to buy an investment property? A lot of different things they can talk about there.
Interesting. Okay.
I've never really heard. I've never heard of people doing customer service follow-up calls, but I love that that mindset because it's not a prospecting call. It's not something hard. It's just a customer service call. You're just seeing how they're doing. You're getting a pulse of where they are. In people, I think a lot of people freak out when it comes to doing calls or follow-ups or initial calls. They're like, "Oh my God, I have to sell." But yeah, you are a salesperson. But you know, if you view it differently, maybe it'll help them get off their rear end and actually start dialing numbers and making some money because there's hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in everyone's database if you have more than 2 people, you know, in your database. But people are so afraid because they're like, oh, they're just going to think I'm selling them something. But no, you're just like, hey, Danny, what's up, man? I haven't talked to you for a while. Just kind of follow up and see how you're doing. How can I help you? What kind of information can I give you? It's phenomenal.
That's it, man. And you know, you guys mentioned Frank and viral marketing. We do use viral marketing. We send out an email every single week They keep telling me that's too much, but I actually don't think it's enough because
Yes, it's too much.
Yeah, I have this conversation with our operations people all the time. They're like, "We're sending too many emails," and I'm like, "No, send more."
Drowned my clients.
Oh, that's funny. Now, why is that?
Why do they ask me why we're sending too many? Or
why do you think it's not enough?
Oh, just because I think that I think we're being bombarded with marketing and advertising all of the time, and if you're sending emails that aren't sales related, if they're educational, like Frank recommends, then if you create something that your prospects and your clients actually want to read and want to watch, then they're going to want more of it, and if they don't, they're going to unsubscribe. So I don't have a problem with the weekly. And then we call on those. So our ISAs call on the open and click report from Frank's team that we get. I know you guys didn't ask me to plug Frank, but they're great, so I'm going to talk about it anyway.
That's fine.
It's a product that works. I mean, that's the ultimate thing.
Well, and that's the key. That's the key to making it work, and this is what people misunderstand, not just about viral, but just about following up with your database in general. Like, you can send out stuff till the cows come home, but if you don't follow up with people on the phone, none of it, the whole system breaks down, or at least the mechanism for tracking the results that you're getting breaks down.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So our ISAs will call on that list, and it's the same thing. It's just a customer service call. Hey, and they typically won't say, like, I know you watched the video, but they know what they're watching.
That's right. Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So they know what they're watching, and they'll just say, hey, it's a customer service call. You're doing this or you're doing that. How can we help you? What are your real estate related plans this year? Have you thought about buying an investment property? The rates cannot get any lower. What are you investing in? So it's kind of a whole approach in the totality of how can we help people build wealth through real estate, because I think that's a really important thing. My parents came to the U.S. when I was 3 years old from the Ukraine, and the main reason was they wanted to buy a house. They couldn't there. They wanted to buy a house here, and it's such a great wealth vehicle for people that a lot of times we forget about that when we're real estate agents. We're just looking at transactions and trying to get people to buy and sell. But think about, if you buy a house, that is a great way to build wealth. And so we want to help as many people do that as we can.
Yeah, it is. It's a phenomenal way to do it. And I love that story that your parents came here to specifically, buy a piece of property. So what you've been doing has gone all the way back to your original generation, origination here in the States. And so I'm sure you speak to that, when you're talking to people, right?
Yeah.
You tell that story.
Oh yeah, for sure, all the time.
That's a powerful story.
Yeah, that was something that I always liked about the way. You know who Brett Jennings is, right?
Yes. No, I haven't heard that.
KW guy up in San Jose. He used to be with Intero, so he's only been with KW for like a year or so. But so he used to be a financial advisor before he got into real estate. One of the reasons was exactly what you said, which is to help people build wealth through real estate investments, both on their own home and outside of that. So it's just, to me, it's one of the best ways of explaining what the true value of a real estate agent is not just in terms of, well, we facilitate the transaction and we'll try to get you a good deal. It's the bigger picture of, we look at your whole life and how you want to build wealth over the course of your entire lifetime and set yourself up for retirement and make sure that your kids, you've got savings for college. We can help you do that by putting you in the right home that fits in with that bigger goal.
Yeah.
I love that approach. Yeah. So let's talk about, in the few minutes that we have left, we've got maybe 5 or 6 minutes left to chat. So I want to dig into the team building side of it a little bit, and let's talk about two challenges I want you to touch on. Number one, which is what I'm always curious about, is the challenge of withdrawing from the actual listing side and hiring listing agents to replace you on what basically is the highest value part of a real estate team. And then how do you extend that into expanding other offices without you having to be personally on the ground managing them? Those are, I think, the two challenges I want to touch on.
Yeah, sure, and they definitely are challenges. I think at the end of the day, what's interesting is that all of it comes back to hiring the right people. Finding people who are accountable, who have a purpose, who are driven, who want to succeed. Because when you find, what I found is when you find super accountable people who have a high drive and a high level of motivation, they want to make it happen. You don't have to manage those people. It's like we always talk about, well, you're not a good manager. Well, if you find great people that are self-managed, you don't have to be a great manager. And over the course of my career, I've found that when I find really great people for a position, then and it's clear what the position is and the duties and all that stuff, and then we have an accountability mechanism around it, then those people are successful. If I put the wrong people in the position, maybe they're the wrong personality style fit, or it's not a good fit in some other respect, then no matter what I do, that person is not going to ultimately be successful. So I definitely think it starts there. Whether you're looking for a buyer agent or a listing agent or an inside salesperson or an expansion partner, I don't think it matters. It's got to be the right person for the right fit. So on the listing side, what you're really looking for, are you guys into like the DISC assessment? You guys talk about that? Okay, cool. So on the listing side, what I found is you kind of want that higher D personality style with a little bit lower I, which is kind of opposite of your buyer agent, because they got to be driven, and if they're a super high I, they're going to go talk to the seller for 4 hours and never get the listing agreement signed. So the first thing we do in our recruitment is we actually we make everyone fill out a personality assessment before we meet with them. And then we make them fill out our own application, and then we have a little phone screening, and if they fit within what we're looking for, then we'll meet with them. If they don't, here's the problem, here's the challenge I've had. If I meet with someone, because I can be a high I, I can be a high D, I have high in both, and I can really adapt. So if I meet someone and I like them, I'm going to justify why I should hire them, even if they're not the right fit. So I want to do the personality assessment first. And then if they're the right personality, then I'll meet with them. And once I meet with them, I really want to dig deep. You talked about 3 deep earlier. So critical in interviews, because I want to find out, why is this something that they're going to make happen no matter what? And what do they do when they don't hit their goals? What do they ask them the really tough questions, not just the surface questions? Because in real estate, as you guys know, there's going to be a lot of challenges. There's going to be a lot of roadblocks. And what are you going to do if you've gone a couple of days and you're not hitting your appointment goals or your contact goals? So I think it starts there. Same thing with expansion. It's the same exact thing. You got to find the right person. So it all comes back to that.
Yeah. No, it's 100% right. We have done some bad hires on our team, and they interviewed well, but then like I wanted to hire the person, so like you, I justified it to the team, and they went along with it. Foolishly, they should have fought me harder, and it was they've been bad moves for us. So now I'm 1,000% on your ship, going, if they don't match up exactly in the profile that they need to be in, we're not doing it, because it takes away from your time of production. I mean, if you're not out producing, you're babysitting dipshit over here. You're not gonna. Your bottom line is gonna reflect that.
Yeah, for sure. And Greg, I'd say the only catch on that I've found is if someone they may not be the right, maybe not the exact style, but if they have a track record in this position of doing it and being super successful, hey, different story. Then we'll meet with them. But if they've never done this and they don't have the right personality style, I've yet to, let's put it this way, I've yet to hire one person that hasn't been the right style and doesn't have a track record that's worked out long term. It just hasn't happened for me yet.
You make a phenomenal point there. There is that caveat, because if Matt is coming in because he has to feed Julie and his 3 15-pound babies, and he has a history of sales, but he's never done real estate.
How'd they get upgraded from 12?
Because you keep feeding little bastards.
My 3 fake kids went from 10 to 12 to 15 pounds, like overnight.
Well, they came down from obese. I mean, you guys are going the right direction.
Now, Danny, I'm curious. What's your philosophy on the timing of hiring people? Are you leading with revenue and you wait until you have the revenue in pocket before you hire somebody? Do you hire people ahead of growth?
Yeah, I mean, in theory, yes, we want to lead with revenue. In practice, if there's an opportunity that I see, then I'll usually, I'm pretty a big risk taker. So if there's an opportunity that I see, we'll take it. I mean, for example, we had 2 inside salespeople, and we weren't really in the position to hire another one because the department wasn't producing the ROI in the last 6 months that we wanted. But we met an amazing candidate. We met a guy that has a track record of sales. He just moved to LA from New York. He's been successful in every single sales position that he's ever been in. And so when you find great talent, we couldn't pass it up. I'm like, yeah, we got to grab this guy because he's great talent, and I know he's going to make it happen. So that in the real world, that's typically the way we work it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep, take advantage of the opportunities, and you always have the recruiting machine turned on for that exact reason. When somebody comes across your doorstep and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll figure out something for you to do.
Yes, and always be recruiting. That's for sure. I mean, I think that's the only way to grow. You always have to be looking for good talent everywhere you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you still personally managing like the performance of both your listing and your buyer's agents, or do you have someone that's kind of stepped into a role that's in between you and the actual agents on the ground on your team?
Yeah, I actually do. I manage the Beverly Hills agents, and then my expansion partner who runs my Calabasas group, Goalie, I lead her, and then she leads those agents.
Yeah.
So I do. I have a. You know what I went to a little while ago, which has been very successful, is I treat each of my agents on my team as if I were coaching them in a formal relationship.
Right.
And so I treat it exactly the same. I have 5 coaching clients, and my agents I treat as my clients. And so we have every week we have a half-hour coaching session. They have to come to that session with a completed one-page business plan that's updated. At KW we call it a 411, but it's just a one-page business plan. And I coach them, and so I do that. I actually enjoy that part of it. It's really fun for me, and I also do that with. We now have one of our inside salespeople leading the department, so I coach him, and then he coaches the other ISAs. But yeah, I'm very involved in that.
Very cool.
That's all. That's very, very awesome. Do you happen to have is your personality a high D and a high S by chance?
No, mine is high D, high I, and then it drops off to almost no S and C.
Just because all the systems, I'm like, I can hear the D, but I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm the same way. Like 99D, 99I, it drops off pretty severely on the S and the C. But I love systems, and to me, it's about just getting the most out of it without me having to do everything. Because I only want to do like what I focus on. So I don't know if that resonates with you, Danny.
100%, 100%. Now I like creating the systems in terms of the vision. So I will say, hey, I have this idea for this system. There's no way I'm ever going to create it. That's going to have to be someone else. And also, I think as kind of visionaries in the businesses, I'll have 100. This comes from Rocket Fuel actually. I have 100 ideas, and I tell my staff all the time, it's your job to tell me that 99 of them we're not going to do or not now, and this one's great, we're going to do this now. Because otherwise they'd constantly be changing stuff and shifting it, because I'm always telling them new stuff that I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
that's true. It resonates for sure.
Nice.
I think I'm the only true high D, high I then. I hate systems and just do what I want to do.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say Greg likes to joke that whenever I say the word systems, it's like cussing at him. That's a real estate agent. All right, so Danny, how can people send referrals to you, both in Beverly Hills, Calabasas, that type of area?
Sure, yeah, I'd love that. I'll give you my email address. It's dannyb@kw.com, nice and simple. And then our direct line phone number, which Greg, someone will always answer that line live, or they will get fired. It's 310. It's 310-432-5755. That's our direct line number, so someone will answer that on the customer service side, and or just my email, dannyb@kw.com. And yeah, we'd love referrals in the entire greater Southern California area for sure.
Yeah, you've got teams coming and all kinds of things that you're working on, and so I just want to refresh people's memory. So tbghomes.com, and then check out his video blog at blog.tbghomes.com. And then, so make sure to check out getviral.com for viral marketing. Check out eliterealestatesystems.com for the team building workshops to learn kind of basically what Danny's done. You can actually learn exactly how to do just that and expand your team, both locally and outside of your area. And then, Greg, how do people reach you for the McDaniel Challenge?
They're going to call me, Matt. And you know what?
Now, do they need to dial the numbers sequentially in the correct order?
They do. If they don't, they're not going to get me, and that's a shame because I don't get to meet them, and they think that we're lying to them, and the whole thing just is a bad cycle. So, guys, do this, please. If you're on the fence and you got, kind of wondering if it's the right time to jump in and start doing the McDaniel Challenge, you know what? Do it. Do it, because we're at the 18th of May right now. So if you don't get it now, we're going to be looking at you in June for us to talk, and that's entirely too long. Dial us number 925-915-1978. Again, 925-915-1978. And what the McDaniel Challenge is an hour and a half to 2 hours of free coaching, and we're going to get on the phone. It's not scary. There's no sales pitch. It's just us hanging out, getting to know each other. And every single person that I've talked to so far Came on the phone a little timid because they didn't know what to expect. By the time we got off, we were friends. We still communicate. We put together a plan specifically for their personality types and their strengths to go on out and become a dominant agent in their marketplace. So please, for the love of God, stop being yourself. Get off the damn fence and freaking call me.
That's right. Oh, and so one of our viewers, Tiffany, who's a KW agent up in Ottawa, was watching us live, and just wanted to thank you, Danny, for the Charlie app. She says it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're already got people watching and downloading stuff just based off of your recommendation. That was fantastic. I'm going to go check that out. Encourage everybody to check that out. That is fantastic. But that is our time today. Thank you so much. We've got some really great guests coming up next week. I cannot remember who any of them are.
Matthew.
We got Preston Zeller on Monday.
God.
Jeff on Friday. There's so many people. I've been booking so many people on the podcast. All the names are starting to be like a jumble. So anyway.
Oh, you want to know something cool? I was told last night with my my coaching call with Sandy and Larry, they're talking with Barbara Corcoran, and I said, if you talk to Barbara and I help you today, you got to have to promise that you'll do everything you can to get her on our show. They're at the end of the call, they're like, we are gonna make damn sure she's on your show. I'm like, fuck yeah,
that's right,
winning.
All right, cool. Well, that would be awesome. Yeah, I have to do a lot of research for that interview. Good Lord.
Yeah, you do that research. You go all systems and shit.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Danny, thanks again for coming on the show. It was great content. I hope people got a lot of value out of that. So we really appreciate you taking your time out of the day. So I know you had some issues getting into the office. So you're broadcasting from home today. So I'm sure you've got a ton of work to get back to. So we will let you get to it, and we'll see all of our viewers and listeners next week. Remember, Monday we are live again at 3 p.m. Pacific. And until then, have a great weekend.
Love you guys.